In the Philippines, the volunteers are brought down from their crosses within an hour. Death from crucifixion takes much longer, often several days. The only way to hasten death on the cross was to break the legs, making it immediately impossible to support the body weight and therefore to breathe. But the Gospels are all agreed that Jesus died after only 3 to 6 hours, and that his legs were also not broken, while both the other men who were crucified with Jesus had their legs broken. This is recorded in John chapter 19, verses 32 to 33, which says,
The soldiers therefore came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with Jesus, and then those of the other. But when they came to Jesus and found that he was already dead, they did not break his legs.
The question then is it a sufficient evidence of death if a person is absolutely motionless? Is it quite possible that Jesus Christ had passed out due to the agonizing sufferings of the crucifixion, and the soldiers supposed him to be dead and did not, as a result, break his legs? Or the other possibility is that Pilate, as he believed Jesus to be righteous, might have secretly told the centurion not to do so. In any case, one point is certain, that a man cannot die in such a short time on a cross if his legs are not broken. Another incident, shortly before Jesus was taken down from the cross, provides further testimony which proves categorically that although he was motionless, he was indeed still alive and his heart was still beating. As it is said in John chapter 19, verse 34, that when a soldier pierced his side, blood and water gushed forth. For blood and water to gush forth is a clear indication of a beating heart, and indeed indicative of circulation. The New Testament speaks of it in a verse that says,
Instead, one of the soldiers pierced Jesus' side with a spear, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water.
Not only that, but when Joseph came to Pilate requesting the body to be handed over, Pilate expressed his surprise and asked how come he had died so quickly, as it is recorded by Mark chapter 15, verse 44, which says,
Pilate was surprised to hear that he was already dead.
This incredulous expression of Pilate also proves that the person who was on the cross for such a short span of time could not possibly have died without having his legs broken. Another pointer which proves that Jesus Christ was still alive is found in the report that the sepulchre where Jesus was taken was visited at night by Joseph and Nicodemus, who brought around 50 kilos of myrrh and aloes compounded together and applied it to his body. This is recorded by John chapter 19, verse 39, which says,
And there came also Nicodemus, which at the first came to Jesus by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pound weight.
Myrrh is a very well-known medicinal herb used in ointments and poultices for dressing of wounds in Greek medicines. It has been used for centuries. In books of herbal medicine, some of which are renowned books of Greek medicine, there is a mention of an ointment labeled Marham Isa, in other words, ointment of Jesus, in which myrrh is the dominant ingredient. The books have recorded that this ointment was applied to the wounds of Jesus. In the time after the incident of crucifixion, a book was published in Roman language, which also contained a recipe for preparation of an ointment. And it is noted in there that this recipe was prepared for application to wounds of Jesus. To apply myrrh to the wounds of Jesus Christ to assist in healing proves that the disciples Joseph and Nicodemus knew that he was alive, but due to the dangers faced from the Jews, they kept it secret. And on Friday night, very quietly, they applied the ointment on his wounds and placed him in a cave-like sepulchre and placed a stone on its mouth. The sequence of events as recorded in the Gospels grant absolute proof to the belief that Jesus Christ was taken down alive from the cross and was still alive when he was placed in the sepulchre. Because in accordance to these records, not only did he later disappear from the sepulchre, but he also met some of his disciples. He shows them his wounds and asks them for food. He also disguises himself so that the Jews would not recognize him. Briefly, the events which took place were as follows. Early on Sunday morning, in other words, 2 nights and 1 day after the crucifixion, when Mary Magdalene goes to the sepulchre, she finds the stone removed from the mouth of the sepulchre, and Jesus not present inside, as is described in John chapter 20, verses 1 through 7, which says,
Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him. So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter, who was behind him, arrived and went into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the burial cloth that had been around Jesus' head. The cloth was folded by itself, separate from the linen.
These verses of the Gospel are proof that Jesus Christ was alive, while he may have been unconscious while he was placed inside the sepulchre. That is the reason why, when he regained consciousness, he removed the sheets in which he'd been wrapped, and he shifted the stone on the mouth of the sepulchre and went out. Most Christians believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross, and then on the 3rd day he was resurrected with his spiritual body. If this belief is to be taken as true, then the stone on the mouth of the sepulchre should not have been removed, because for a non-physical spirit there was no need to remove the stone in order to come out. Not only this, but for Jesus Christ to disguise himself when he met Mary Magdalene is an undeniable proof that after surviving the crucifixion, he feared that the Jews would catch him again. If it were true, as the Christians believe, that he had been resurrected with his spiritual body and not the physical body, then there was no need for him to disguise himself out of the fear that the Jews would catch him again, as it is recorded by John chapter 20, verse 14 to 16, which says,
At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there. But she did not realize that it was Jesus. Woman, he said, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for? Thinking he was the gardener, she said, Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him. Jesus said to her, Mary. She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher.